So, you're an indie artist, but you can't seem to get your music to stand out. How do you actually get attention and start to build a fan base for your music? Well, you might need to figure out your micro niche or your micro genre. Hey, I'm Reagan Ram with Orpheus Audio Academy.
And I'm Haley Ram.
And we are here to help you make better music and grow your fan base online. So before we dive into how you can go about discovering your micro niche, I just want to let you know we have a free cheat sheet in the description below. You can download that and follow along, and this will help walk you through the process of figuring out your micro genre so you can get off to the races. So today in this video, we're talking all about your micro niche. And so this is a marketing principle where you focus in on a very narrow target audience versus trying to appeal to the masses. And so the concept of this is you become a big fish in a small pond so you can stand out better. You're not competing with as many people versus, trying to compete with, people on the radio, all the pop artists, right? So you want to focus on who are the people that are going to be most likely to fall in love with your music. And those are the people you want to put your music in front of, as those efforts will go a lot farther than just sharing your music with the whole world and getting lost in all the noise. So that's why you need to figure out your micro niche.
So you can think of it as there are 4 levels to discovering this. And each one is going to get increasingly narrow the further down you get. So your primary or macro genre is going to be the umbrella. And so your big genres are like pop, electronic, rock, rap, and R&B. Those kind of like the big genres. Mm-hmm. That's just the overview. Right. And then beneath that you have your subgenre, which is a little bit more, it's a little smaller, like synth pop, alternative rock, pop rock.
Right, so you're getting a little bit narrow within each of those broader categories. Then you have your niche, which is just an even smaller subset of that. So you're continuing getting narrower and narrower. And so a couple examples in niche would be like acoustic folk pop or synthwave. And then finally, we arrive at your micro niche, which is 4 levels down.
And your micro niche can change from album to album. You are not locked into this. For your music brands, you have some creative liberties, and even some artists, the bigger, the ones that achieve the success, can have the ability to even have their micro niche change from song to song on an album. So some examples of micro niche are going to be pop wave, chamber pop, baroque rock, dark fantasy electro, just things that are, there's so many.
Basically infinite. There's so many.
There's an infinity of micro niches, which is great.
So now you might be thinking, right, if you focus on such a narrow niche, like how are you ever going to have success? You might think there's not enough people there. Well, that's just not the case. I mean, first off, you only need really 1,000 true fans to have a 6-figure income through your music. So a super fan, right, a true fan, is someone that loves your music so much, loves your brand so much that they're willing to spend at least $100 with you a year. And so multiply that by 1,000 people, you're now making $100,000 a year. So you don't need a ton of fans to be successful. This is what we're kind of breaking down for you here, is how to become a member of the music middle class, right? So most people, if they think of the music industry, they're just thinking of the upper echelon, the top 1%, the millionaires and the billionaires, big pop stars. And then the other category that people know about are the starving artists, right, that don't make any money. Then people think those are the only 2 parts of the spectrum. People seem to think the music industry is like some kind of communist microcosm. It's not. There's a middle class. We have capitalism here. And so what we're breaking down for you is going to help you get into that music middle class. You don't need a ton of fans. That said, these microgenres, though they are small relatively, there's still going to be thousands and thousands and even potentially millions of fans in these microgenres. But you don't need that many people to actually make a great living from your music.
Right. It's kind of the same principle as like you have like movies like Turbo Kid, which is like a super niched synthwave like what was the? It is a synthwave, or it's like
cult. Your cult classic.
It's a
movies.
the cult classic. That's a genre of movies that didn't get a whole lot of like publicity recognition. They're not very popular, but they have like super fans.
Right, they're super popular within a small population. That's all you need.
Yeah.
To be successful in music. So with that in mind, how do we go about then discovering your microgenre? Well, we're going to break down 3 simple steps you can follow to quickly discover your microgenre.
Step 1 is to brainstorm. List your favorite artist from your childhood and today. This does not always, I'll just say as a side note, this does not always accurately represent the music you create today. And the only reason I say that
You wouldn't know anything
is
about
because I grew up listening to bluegrass, folky.
You were in a folk gospel band for 20 years.
Yes.
And now you make futuristic, electronic, synth pop type music.
Yes, and I listened to a lot of classical music. I played classical piano for 20 years. So, obviously, this may not apply to you and may not be, the most accurate thing.
But it can be one clue.
It can be one clue. Mm-hmm. And for the majority of people, it is.
Right. Usually what you listen to as a child and what you're listening to today is going to influence the type of music that you create.
You are a perfect example of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I grew up listening to new wave music. And so today I make synthwave music, which is basically the modern version of new wave and 80s soundtrack music. All right, so after you do that, another thing you can do is you can ask 10 people for their honest opinions on who they believe are the top 3 bands your music sounds the most similar to. And even better is if you can ask your fans or your email list. If you've been building your email list, this is a really great source of information. You can survey your fans and get their opinions on who you sound like, because these are going to be bands that they already know, probably already like if they follow you. So those are great clues for audiences that you can tap into and put your music in front of those fans as well in the future.
What if you don't have 10 people? Does it have to be 10 people?
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't.
Now, if you're a complete loser and your family's abandoned you and you have no friends and you can't find 10 people,
create a Reddit topic.
There are always forums out there, there's Facebook groups, there's places you can go put your music and get feedback.
Go ask Reddit, they're very honest. So step 2 is research. Once you have that list of similar bands, then you're going to take that and make another list.
Do research on those bands.
So a couple of different ways that you can research these bands is you can look at the band's official Facebook page. Very helpful. You can look at
Instagram account. You look at their social media and see what they say about themselves. How do they describe themselves?
Yes, that's the very first place you want to go.
Yeah, so the second thing you can do is you can look them up on Amazon, right? They're probably selling their albums on Amazon. And you can scroll down to the product details and it will list how they're performing in the various music categories. So right there, those are some concrete categories that these artists fall under. So you know these are the types of people that like this music, right? The people that buy music in those categories. So you can look in those categories and see what even more artists that are in that category. And so that's kind of a cool thing about Amazon, is that it's kind of this search engine that it knows what people buy. If people are buying music from one particular artist, then Amazon will know to show even more music that is similar to that artist. So you can find a whole bunch of similar artists there on Amazon.
So then once you have those genres, and you'll probably have quite a few of them, you can head on over to Wikipedia and you can start searching the different terms.
Yeah, or you could even look up the artists there too and find even more genres, because each artist will fall under certain genre categories. And you can click on those and go to articles on Wikipedia that will go more in depth on each of those categories and describe what are the elements of those genres, what makes that genre a particular genre, and then you'll find an even deeper rabbit hole, even more.
I guarantee you'll find
micro genres. So
I guarantee you'll
derivatives.
find genres that you've never even heard of before. You're like, wait, that's a genre? What is this?
And then one final place you can go to do research is you can look up these different artists on Spotify, see what playlists they're a part of, especially any like moods or categories that they fall under, to get even more ideas. Because a lot of times your micro niche, that when you go that far down, you're going to be getting into like cultures and moods and feelings. For example, like Celtic fantasy or futuristic or interstellar, right? These are real terms that I've seen artists use to describe themselves, but you wouldn't actually necessarily associate them with music, but they are a descriptor on that particular niche of music. Be sure to do all this research for the top 5 to 8 bands that people said you sounded like, and compile those lists of terms. And so then that takes us to step number 3.
Decide on your genre.
Exactly. So you just start organizing all those different terms and categories.
And you want to start, again, like we mentioned, you have your umbrella genre, the big genre. So you want to start with your widest genre down to the very, very narrowest.
Right. And if you've been using like Wikipedia and Amazon, these different things we talked about, you can kind of get an idea of what the broader categories are and what the more narrower ones are. Because, for example, you might look up, electronic, and then under that on Wikipedia, you'll see more subgenres, or like synth pop. You'll see other genres that are derivative of that. So you can start to make your list and fill in your different genres.
As another quick note is the terms that you decide on should be real categories and not something you make up. Because if there's something you make up, then they're not going to be things that people are searching for.
Right. You want to create a list, because these are going to become search terms that you can use, whether it's like uploading a YouTube video or if you're creating an ad. You want to use actual real terms and real artists that people are following, so you can put your music then in front of those audiences to attract those people to you.
Yes, because again, all this comes back to this will help you market your music very distinctively and give you a better edge from other artists who are in your same genre.
Right. It's the difference between like shotgun marketing, where you're just shooting a blast, just blasting out your music. Somebody love me, please. Versus like a sniper marketing, where you're finding, okay, these are the people that are going to like my music. I'm going to use my sniper rifle to put my music right in front of them.
What are you guys doing?
It's gonna blast them in the head. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, this is the most amazing music I've ever heard. How did this get put in front of me? But I don't know how, but it's amazing. I want to buy it and love it and mass produce it. So yeah, by the way, we have a free guide for you that breaks down all these different tips that we shared in this video and gives you fill in the blank spots, so you can start putting in all this information and figuring out your micro niche. So that's in the description below. It's completely free, or you can go to orpheusaudioacademy.com/microgenre. All right, if you found this helpful and you want more tips on how about growing your music career and building your fan base online, then you can check out the playlist that's on the screen right now, which has a bunch more of our videos on how to grow about building your fan base online. All right, have a great day, keep creating, and we'll see you in a future video.